So today, what I was thinking I would do for this video is we're just going to do a vlog and talk about some stuff today. It's going to be all over the place. I have a feeling I haven't prepared. I just have a few things in my mind that I wanted to discuss. Just fun stuff. So first off, I have some new tires coming. I ordered some new tires, and I think I'm gonna make a separate video on those. But I just checked the package delivery, and it should be here tomorrow. And the reason I'm even mentioning this is because for the past 4 or 5 years, 6 years even, going way back, if you go back into my history of my YouTube videos, you'll see I did a whole bunch of videos early on about Compass tires, Panaracer tires, and I've been doing a lot of cycling on that particular brand's tires, whether that is on Compass branded tires or Panaracer's own branded tires or the Soma Cazadero tires or the Gravel Kings, you know, that sort of thing. Right now I'm actually riding Gravel Kings, and I recently switched these back on. When I first bought these tires, I set them up tubeless, and they held up okay at first, and then eventually I had some trouble with the tubeless not holding up well. So I decided to just clean it out and go back to tubes. And in the process of doing that, I found that the sealant I wasn't able to get all of the sealant out of the tire. So some of that sealant was getting stuck to the tube, and then the tube would get stuck to the inside of the tire. So when I would get a flat, I'd have to try to rip the tube out, and it was just becoming a headache. And then there was this little bit of like a film that was on the tube that I couldn't get off even with the sandpaper. So my patches weren't sticking to the tubes very well. So I just got sick of it, and I decided to just take tires off. And I bought a new set of René tires to replace them. And I've since used those tires and wore them completely out, and I was just getting too many flats, and I didn't want to order another set. Yet I had this, I decided maybe I should try throw these Gravel Kings back on and give them a try. I have a set of Soma Cazaderos still that are in really good shape. So instead of dropping another $200 on tires, I decided to just throw these on. And interestingly enough, that with that much time passing, the glue or the sealant has dried up enough. So anyway, I do have some new tires, totally different brand, and we're gonna give those a try. So I'll make another video on that. It should be really interesting. And like I said, I haven't ridden other branded tires in a really long time, so this will be really fun for me. Other than on my road bike, I guess I should say, and my mountain bike. I have run Schwalbe tires on my mountain bike, and I've run Continentals on my road bike. But on this bike, which has been the bike I've put the majority of my miles on, and even my other gravel bike, I've been sticking mostly to the Panaracer line of tires because they come in so many options. And anyway, there are more and more brands now that are coming up with similar sized tires and similar kind of lightweight, performance-oriented wide tires. So we're gonna give some a try. So stay tuned, and I will share my thoughts on those tires. The other thing I wanted to talk about today is audio and the audio quality on my videos. So right now I am filming this with the internal microphone on this camera, and I'm going to switch over right now to the other microphone that I have on, which was a gift to me from Miss Cools. She gave this to me. She bought this for me for my birthday. And I've been using it once in a while in some of my videos. But over the past couple of vlogs where we go on a bike tour or we're out riding, I've been trying to simplify this vlogging setup as simple as I can. That just makes my life a lot easier, because then I can focus on the video, focus on what I'm trying to film and capture those scenes. But, the audio hasn't been coming out very good. And a lot of you have mentioned it to me that the audio sucks. And I agree, the audio did suck. So today we're running the auxiliary mic, but we'll talk about that. Let's talk about audio, my thoughts on it, why I do certain things, why I don't do certain things. Let's talk a little bit about that today. I'll share what I'm using right now. What else? What other topics can we cover? There's a lot of stuff floating around. I'm gonna get rolling here And we're gonna probably have a lot of jump cuts in this video because, like I said, I have no plan for what we're gonna talk about, but I do want to get over to the coffee shop here and get a nice warm beverage so we can do some discussions. So as you can see, the weather's a little bit crappy today. So I forgot my mug. Unfortunately, I was trying to get out the door this morning and trying to grab the microphones and all this stuff. I just forgot it. So let's talk about the audio stuff. So as far as the audio, the reason I struggle with getting good audio on this channel is a matter of convenience. So a lot of the videos I make, I try to go out and ride and film while I'm riding, and you know, it's hard to get good audio when you're moving because you have the wind noise. And then there's, of course, all these different microphone options that you can choose, and dead cats, as they're called. And I've experimented with a lot of them over the years. And ultimately what I find is that whatever is the simplest thing is the thing that I tend to want to use. I want something that's just really quick to set up, that you don't have to sync audio from an external recorder like I'm using right now, because that's challenging, especially if you're doing a lot of filming and cuts. You know, it's hard to find all those audio pieces and connect them all together. So it just adds a lot more time to the edit. But you'll see that, you know, you do see a lot of big YouTube cycling channels out there that will use an auxiliary mic, like a shotgun mic, mounted to the top of the camera. And I've done that before, and it's worked for me, and I've gotten really good audio that way. My camera that I was using at the time that had the shotgun mic, which as a shotgun just went off in the background, that was perfect timing. The shotgun mic port on my other camera, my Lumix camera, has started to have slight short connection in there. I don't know if it's loosened up over time, but the import jack just it's causing an intermittent audio problem with the auxiliary mic. And I contacted the company that makes the camera, and I'm currently out of warranty on it. And I think it's going to cost something like $500 to fix it. And it's a camera that I spent, you know, I probably only paid $800 for it. So there's very little incentive for me now to want to do that with that camera. So that camera now becomes like a B-roll camera, or one that I might set up for doing videos where I'm in my workshop, or if I'm at home doing something, I might set it up and then use an auxiliary audio source to just get better audio. Anyway, the reason I don't put that same mic on here is because you have to plug in the microphone to the camera, and with the way you're riding and trying to film, and if you don't carry the camera on your back, you tend to need to put your camera into something, and that microphone gets in the way. So if you're trying to shove it into a handlebar bag, or even just like a feed bag or something, you're going to end up really putting a lot of stress on that microphone jack, because it's going to be moving around and bouncing around. And I think that's what ultimately caused that problem with my other camera. And putting it on your back is fine, but then it's on your back all day long. And it depends on the ride you're doing and whether you find that to be comfortable or not. It's just another thing that can, you know, just be an annoyance, I guess, and a deterrent to want to film. So that's why I come back to trying to just work with the internal mic on these cameras, and I've tried to glue on the dead cat material, and it works pretty good sometimes, but then that thing gets ripped off. You know, I was using that on this camera, and it would get torn off as I would put the camera in and out of my jersey pocket. So, you know, it's just an ongoing thing. There's a lot more I could say about microphones and audio and how to incorporate it into cycling, but it's just a long discussion, and you really have to experience a lot of it to know what I'm talking about. But and you know, it depends on the kind of content you want to make too. So it's just not an easy. There's just not a black and white answer to it. So some of you may remember the hub that failed on me when I was doing the bike packing trip. And what happened was I had a wheel set that came off of a bike that I used I took all the parts off of another bike and I built up this gravel bike. And I used it to race a few times. I did one of the Grasshopper Adventure Series races on it. And it was basically it came off of a road bike with unknown number of miles. So I actually don't know if the free hub body had 100 miles or 100,000 miles. I didn't know. I mean, the wheels were in good shape, so probably didn't have a lot of miles on them. And so anyway, the free hub body is made out of aluminum. It's a Head brand, and it was a Head wheel set. So it was a Head Head Ardennes Plus, I think is what it was called, rim wheel set. It was a 28 spoke on the rear and I think a 20 spoke, I believe, or 20. Yeah, it was a very low spoke front wheel. And it was straight pole on the front. So anyway, the free hub body disintegrated when I was out riding at the Tour de los Padres bikepacking ride or race, whatever it is. And I didn't know. It was the first time anything like that had ever happened to me. I've never had a free hub body fail like that, where the pawls where they are mounted to the free hub body actually sheared off. The part of the free hub body sheared off, causing one of the pawls to be loose, and it would get stuck. It would jam into the little teeth on the hub side, and so it would cause the wheel to lock up. It would cause the cassette to lock up. And so I ended up needing to pedal like a fixed gear bike, and that made it very challenging. But I was able to ride, I think, another 30 miles on it that day, and then the next day it was kind of loose. It kind of loosened up for some reason. After riding it a little bit, it like worked itself loose, and so the next morning I woke up and decided, well, let's just keep going. See what happens. And when I got all the way up to a little town called Atascadero, I called a bike shop and decided to take it in and see if they could look at it. Long story short, we discovered this problem. And that hub became kind of, I decided at that point to pull the plug on the ride because we couldn't get parts for it. It was proprietary. Nobody had a free hub body like it. I took it down to this shop in San Luis Obispo. They tried very hard to get it to work. We got something working, but it wasn't the right hub for that, or the free hub for that hub. And so I just didn't want to take any more chances, and I didn't want to get stuck out in the middle of nowhere by myself. So I decided to just pull the pin on the race or ride or whatever. And that hub made its way home with me, and I took the wheel apart and I put that hub on my bench. And for a little while, I was really trying to fix it. I really was looking deeply online to try to find a free hub body. This was still during the COVID kind of supply chain shortage. So there was nothing available. I contacted the salespeople at the hub company, and they didn't have anything. And so I decided, well, let's just can this hub. We'll leave it. I'll get a DT Swiss and rebuild the wheel with the DT Swiss hub. And I did. And it's been working great. Miss Cools has that wheel set on her bike now, and I don't have a wheel set for that gravel bike at the moment. So recently, I was browsing the internet, and I came across a free hub body for that hub with a Shimano spline. So Shimano, to work with a Shimano cassette. And I thought, well, and it originally was for a Campy cassette. So I thought, maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll fix that hub now after all. It's a beautiful hub. It's very lightweight. It's got an oversized axle. It's aluminum. It's the lightest rear hub I have. And I thought, you know what? Maybe we could salvage that hub and reuse it now. So I ordered the free hub body with the Shimano spline, with the 3-pawl design for the 15 millimeter axle. And I got it in the mail, and I was not really superly confident that it was going to work. But I unpackaged it, and sure enough, it works. It works. It fits the hub perfectly. So it's an 11-speed compatible free hub body for a Shimano. So what I want to do is use that hub to build a road bike wheel set for Miss Cools. and take back my DT Swiss wheel for my gravel bike. And the reason I want to keep the DT Swiss is because it is a more common hub. And I feel like for a gravel bike, a bike where you might be taking it on a longer tour or a longer adventure ride, having a bike with parts that are more easily accessible is a good idea. And then for Miss Cool's road bike, something she may not ride very often, then it's there for kind of fun rides and low risk if it breaks down on a ride. We're not going to be out in the middle of nowhere on Miss Cool's road bike, and she's very lightweight, and she's not going to put that much load into that free hub body anyhow. So I do think that's the smart move. So that's what we're going to do. So that's the head hub discussion I wanted to talk about. So I will be building a new wheel set for her with that hub. I'm going to use some really lightweight spokes. I'm going to use the Supreme Race spokes. They're really thin ones. I think the butting on there is 2 millimeters on the ends and 1.5 millimeters in the middle. So very lightweight. Want to keep that wheel set like very, very light. Her bike's light. She's light. I think it's going to be a good set. It's 28 spoke hub. So nothing to risk. She's not going to start breaking spokes. I know for sure she's not going to break the spokes. So that's what we're going to do. I can't say I know for sure, but I think the probability is very low. Pretty good. It's pretty good. Makes it taste kind of like a flatbread, pizza almost. All right. Well, while we're sitting here eating this flatbread crackers or whatever they are, flatbread crackers. The other topic I wanted to talk about is the new bike, the custom bike I'm currently working on. We're in the design phase right now, and we have a lot still to work out. I'm doing a couple things different on this one that I haven't done on some of the other bikes. But what I wanted to say about it was, first of all, the design, the inspiration for the design is coming from one of the bikes that John Fitzgerald recently built, and he let me ride it in one of the videos that I made we were down in Marin County riding on like the old school mountain bike tracks down there, the repack as it's called. He let me test ride it, and it really opened up my perspective on how wide how tires really do affect the ride feel and the handling. And I thought 48s were wide, but when you're off-road, 48s are, I don't know, they're not that significant. When you get into the 2 1/4 inch size, that's when you start to really feel, or 2 inch, 2 inch to 2 1/4, you really start to notice the difference. In really rough off-road conditions. I mean, 48s are good. I run 48s on this bike here, but there is a noticeable difference between 44s to 48s and 2 and 2 1/4 inch tires. And doing the Oregon Outback and some of the other bike tours I've done, if you're going to be off-road most of the time, then I don't see any reason why you'd want to limit yourself to like a narrow tire thinking that you're going to go faster or faster on the few paved sections that you might encounter. That just hasn't been my experience. You're going to go so much faster on the rough stuff with big tires, and you're gonna be much more comfortable. So that's the inspiration for this build. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about, you know, some of the things we're gonna do to it that's different. I want to talk about it a lot more, but the main things are gonna be the tubing size and the bottom bracket height and the tire clearance. Those are the main things. You might be saying, well, why don't you, why do you need a custom bike for that? Why do you need a custom bike? Why don't you just go get a, a modern mountain bike or a gravel bike off the shelf, and just, that way you have the latest thing, and it's probably, it could be cheaper, I don't know. It could be the same price. And I guess the short answer to that is there is no bike out there that's going to be like this bike. There's no bike. There is no company or brand that makes the bike exactly or like the one I'm considering designing or building. Just like when I had this custom bike made, there was no one out. You couldn't buy this bike. There's no one out there making a bike like this. It doesn't exist. There's a couple brands now that are making bikes that are similar, but there's still a lot of compromises when you go off the shelf. A lot of it has to do with the tubing size and the wall thickness, and just a lot of the features that you can have on the bike. There's limits when you go to the off-the-shelf route. But the bike I'm looking at now, there really is nothing like it. There will be nothing like it on the market. And so custom is the only way you can get this. So that's really why I'm doing it. Because I know what I want, and I know I can't get what I want. It doesn't exist. So that's why I have to go custom. Now, some of you might say, well, you don't really need that. You don't need what you want out of that bike. And that I could be just fine on a off-the-shelf bike with, making the compromises with whatever it is that they have, and I could do just fine with that. And that's probably that could be very true. It could be very true that I don't need what I want, but needs and wants aren't always the same thing. You don't necessarily need anything, really. I mean, you need food and water and shelter, and basically that's it. You might want a car to drive around in, to get to work faster, to go do stuff on the weekends with your friends. But you may not need it. You may not need a heater in your car, but on a cold morning, it's nice to have one. So needs and wants aren't really an argument for or against doing something. I don't need to drink coffee, but I like it.